What up, everybody? Welcome to the IAG Thursday Thing, this thing that we do every Thursday, even when we are busy as shit with crazy ass with crazy ass sales and stuff going on. We got so much going on at IAG right now. I don't know what happened with the algorithm, but it was basically like nobody knew we had a sale, and then everybody figured it out the last day of the original thing, and then we extended it, and this week has been batshit. But it's been pretty nuts. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little stressed, but we'll make it happen. Joined as usual by my partner in crime, Warranty. Warranty, how you doing, bud?
Dewey, I'm doing great. I got 2 updates for you this week because I didn't have one last week. So first of all, update from 2 weeks ago. Sparkles and I took a train trip. We flew to Seattle.
Oh yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, but you
flew to
did
Seattle. Yep. Hung out with my college friends for the afternoon and then got on the train and went all the way back 48 hours across the continent. So that was a great time. Food was decent. Sleep was questionable. People were lovely.
Yeah.
I would do it again. It's great.
Did you guys do the horizontal tango on the train?
I'm not answering that.
It'd be like we're gonna have to try that sometime. I'm gonna be like, yo, we need to fly to Seattle.
Yep. And the people are lovely. When you sit in the dining car, they seat you with other people because there's not enough seats to go around. So I got to meet people from all walks of life, and I think that's my favorite part.
We're also joined. He's not in the chat right now. I think he's got other stuff going on, but he's out there. Executive producer Jordan, the guy who takes care of all our stuff in the background, and we can't appreciate him enough. He's good peeps. And then I also want to thank Randy, who put together the thumbnail this week. Even though he does not agree with us using what we use for the topic, he seemed quite grumpy because it is kind of a NASCAR-y term, and he gets angry anytime somebody uses NASCAR out of context. So we love Randy, but he is Randy.
Well, thank you, Randy. It's a great thumbnail.
Yep. I don't know. I think it's great. Whatever. We don't do enough bug eye stuff. So we need.
Agree.
So yeah. How's life? Is the weather decent up there in Chicago?
Weather's decent. It's 58 degrees today, so finally out of the woods, I think, for the cold. Now we just have to deal with some rain for a few days, and then we'll be okay.
It's almost 80 here.
That's right.
I'm loving it.
But more importantly, it's tax rebate season. It is bonus season. So Dewey, my update number 2 is I'm going to call you and order every part in the catalog that does not void my warranty. All of them. Because life has been very good to me.
I love it. Well, let's get you, but you won't because you're a pain in the ass. But really, what it needs is a set of our badass street coilovers. I would love to sell you a set of those. See, and then all of a sudden, that's what you need. Okay. That's what you need, and it doesn't void your warranty.
Okay. Well,
and you'd be like, I love this car.
We're gonna have to chat.
Okay. Yeah, like I've already said before, it is tax time. Stuff's going crazy. I would recommend if you do plan on doing that, you get a hold of me pretty quick so you get the badass sale. And it's been nuts, man. I don't want to speak specifics, but it's really weird. I haven't quite figured out how this algorithm works, but I feel like the international people, for some reason, like, they start seeing our ads and stuff, and this is anytime. They see it a week late. So, like,
weird.
I've been getting blown up by international customers. Not anywhere near as many domestic customers as I would expect, but international customers absolutely exploding. I'm shooting engines all over the place. Cyprus. I think I'm saying this right. It's like Mauritius Island. Yeah. Oh, have you ever seen Reunion?
No. What's that?
Yeah, it's off of Madagascar. It's a French island.
It's named Reunion?
Yeah, you should check it out.
Okay.
I've sent multiple engines to Reunion Island. It's a speck
Whoa.
in ocean.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
Like weird stuff. Yeah. Sent some Bronco steps to Japan. Like just crazy.
Nice.
I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
how.
cool. Okay. Somebody's kicking around Japan in a Bronco. That's
Yeah,
very cool.
I can't imagine trying to drive a Bronco in Japan though. Like that's got to be
Or the
terrifying.
taxes involved for such a large vehicle. Like, that's a flex. Let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, if you get a chance, check out Reunion Island. That's an interesting one. But yeah, Spain, crazy stuff. Obviously, the Aussies are buying stuff. It's been kind of wild. But today, I kind of came up with this recently, and the reason I came up with this actually came from a Time Attack episode that I recently did with another podcast. But it got me thinking: does win on Sunday, sell on Monday still apply? Long story short, at one point, all sorts of wild development came from racing. Okay, a lot of the stuff that you see on your modern car, you don't even realize came from racing. If it basically made horsepower, it probably came from racing. Variable valve timing, use of weird fuels, fuel injection in general, um, use of like aluminum in engines, and that's just on the engine side of stuff. Aerodynamic things, just efficiency stuff, braking, anti-lock brake stuff like that. A lot of that all came from racing. Okay. On the Subaru side of stuff, things like DCCD, that was all like rally oriented stuff that they wanted to implement for cars that they were running in more production level rally things, and that worked for it definitely worked during the 90s and the early 2000s because I'm driving a Subaru now, I remember kind of being a Honda boy in the early 2000s and seeing Petter Solberg rip around in this bug eye WRX looking thing that kind of looked like a spaceship but definitely resembled this epic machine that just started showing up on our shores from Subaru, and it getting me really amped up, and like you just have dreams flying through your head of being the next Colin McRae, and that's you go and purchase one of these vehicles, and a lot of us did for very similar reasons, and even to a certain degree, it might not be considered racing. Like Ken Block sold a lot of cars. There's anybody who wants to deny that's wrong.
Yeah.
Then but media has changed a lot too. I think as many people who seen World Rally Championship stuff and Colin McRae and things of that nature, and they could go buy a GC WRX and all of that, were influenced that way. We're also influenced by stuff like Gran Turismo, but Gran Turismo was then influenced by racing. So I mean, that's kind of 2 degrees, but really the question is now a lot's changed. How people digest media has changed. What's considered cool has changed. And the way racing is done these days has changed. Especially for stuff that you would compete with a Subaru. To some degree. Does it still make sense? Does that saying really really hold water anymore? If Subaru is out there winning rallies and stuff, are they selling more WRXs because they're winning the ARA Rally Championship? Or are they selling more WRXs because they're terrassing up what the hell, Goodwood, is it moving cars? I mean,
So to clarify, are you focusing on strictly selling production vehicles or the technology trickle down effect from
well,
racing into production cars?
both. So I want to have a
Okay.
conversation on both here. So let's talk about actually selling vehicles now. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I want to hear your thoughts and then I'll give you mine.
Okay. I am really mixed on whether it sells more cars or not. So marketing is real, but most of marketing is a waste of money. You just don't know which piece actually works. I think that part has not changed over the decades. You race a car that looks like a Subaru, you sell more Subarus, or it's just marketing budget just like anything else. That probably sells more cars than, a Super Bowl commercial or a television commercial in general, but it's hard to prove it. Now, technology trickle down is the second piece of this. I think that has probably slowed down because we're no longer inventing important, large things like anti lock braking systems. It would be nice to see some hybrid technology trickle down from the racing, but I don't know if that's actually coming. Cars are so good nowadays that what more is there to improve on?
So I think you and I are sitting fairly similar on this. Um, like one Super Bowl commercial could pay for, an entire season or more, multiple seasons even of a race program. You know what I mean? But it depends on what you're trying to sell and who's going to see that. You know what I mean? Maybe a Super Bowl commercial can convince somebody who maybe isn't exactly a car person, but has a particular maybe they see Subarus as just a lesbian car or whatever, but then they're like, I could get into the outdoor life kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it might even if it moves the needle like 5%, that might be the 5% that pushes that person over. And on the other hand, you have enthusiasts like us who follow racing, um, and then maybe people mildly follow racing and they see Subaru out there competing and they're like, that's pretty cool. I want a piece of that in my life. But I think the majority of people, I think there's a realization that what they're seeing there isn't reality. I think some of that has also been pulled away due to due to not only people having more information out there, but maybe we're tuned in. We see that as an ad. You know what I mean? And we're so
Yeah.
ingrained in seeing things as ads that we professional racing in particular, we kind of don't see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
I think
we're talking about Subaru specifically here, okay? But like let's look at something like NASCAR. I'm gonna tell you right now, Chevy does not sell more Camaros due to NASCAR. Chevy
100%
might sell
agree.
more cars overall due to NASCAR in some way just because it's an advertisement. You know what I mean? The same way Tide might sell some more Tide, you know? But I don't think they're
I
selling more specifically that model. They're not
I
like I want the NASCAR version.
I don't even agree that they're selling more cars as a result of NASCAR specifically, because first of all, the old school NASCARs have nothing to do with modern cars, and then they modernize them with independent rear suspension and sequentials to make them better race cars, which still have nothing to do with the modern
No,
production cars.
they're
So,
two frame. They're all basically identical in size. The
right.
engines are very, very similar.
Yeah, this
They,
is a balance of performance category of racing, not
yes,
a unlimited budget, develop new things, blue sky type
not
racing series.
not who makes the best car. And this.
Exactly.
So when we think about 60s, 70s, even some 80s NASCAR, um, and to that same degree, sports car racing, Trans Am, a lot of there's a lot of other variations all over the world. Um, they were having to use some variation of a production vehicle, so it was honestly it
Right.
was relatable, and a lot of times they had to sell. There was homologation that existed where they had to sell a particular number of a vehicle that was within like a certain percentage of whatever they were racing.
Right.
Uh, and that's the whole reason we have a WRX, and that's definitely the whole reason we have an STI.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a weird car.
It really is if you think about it. But that's why all sorts of crazy stuff got made. The Ford RS 200, for a good example. The Lancia Delta Integrale.
Yeah.
Like, that thing is insane.
Yep.
But they would build these, and to a certain degree, that would be like, look what Subaru, Lancia, Chevy, depending on what they're running, whatever, look what they can do with their near production vehicles. Um, but I think balance of performance, uh, and their quest for balance ruined a lot of that. And it happened
Yeah.
through all top level motorsports.
Yes. And I think that's when the entire world hit a wall on what can you innovate without throwing just unlimited infinity dollars at the problem.
Yep.
So
Um,
on
well, rule sets also came in that which it almost all cars turn into these like kit based cars. NASCAR, World Rally Championship, everything. The rules were the cars all looked extraordinarily similar. Um, in all top level motorsports, all the way to Formula One. Um, I
right.
think it kind of hurt a lot of the interesting production vehicles, the weird production vehicles we might get. I mean, I got to be real. I think the last and only example of something like that that's on the market right now that we can talk about is the GR Corolla.
Really?
Well,
That's
the GR Yaris is the reason the GR Corolla exists, and the GR Yaris was almost specifically built for some weird WRC rules stuff that they needed to make something in a certain size, displacement, yada yada yada.
oh wow. See, when it comes to competition, I think that some of these high level motorsport sanctioning bodies should basically have less rules, but specifically one rule that applies to us right now, which is fuel economy. If you want to make cars more fuel efficient, fine. Do it however you want. Maybe put a budget cap on it to make it a little bit more fair. So everybody will go to hybrids and whatever it is, that would be better racing. But it's easy for me to sit and preach that, probably not easy to do in practice and kind of distracting the point that we're trying to make here. But yeah, I agree with you. I think
What I'd
even in
like
the
to
best of circumstances, homologation cars are pretty rare.
what I would like to see, because it would open up this area for innovation. Okay, and we're going to continue to talk about this, but it would open up this area for innovation of some sort. Is there be like an exemption to a particular car being within your fleet? Um, but maybe you had to charge a certain amount extra for it. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
you can have this in your fleet. It's exempt from your fleet gas mileage standards. And if you don't have to make it exempt, cool. Dude, use that as a dick measuring thing, okay? But like, you had to pay, like, there's like every single car pays an extra $3,000. And that $3,000 goes into the EPA.
Yeah. I see where you're going with that.
So
I
they
mean,
have like it would allow enthusiast cars to be made again. I would be okay with paying an extra $3,000, for a car that they went out of their way to make fun.
this is essentially the problem that automakers are actually having with fleet economy standards is that they have to sell so many Priuses or hybrids in order to be able to afford to sell the fun cars that people actually want to buy. So they don't have this option of just raising the price and collecting an extra tax.
If it was the cars that people want to buy, okay? And
Right.
let's put it this way. The cars people want to buy are not always the cars that sell,
Oh
okay?
yeah.
Like,
100%.
I mean, you can take any boomer, they're going to go, I wish I could buy a Corvette. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But the vast majority of them are running around in something that is not a Corvette. Okay. Um, but having that on the lot gives something to aspire to, I guess. So I guess
Yeah.
we just want to make sure there's a differentiation between things that people want to buy and stuff that people are buying and they have to sell. You know what I mean? And then there's that things we have to sell, aka the Solterra, versus things we want to sell, which is probably like for Subaru right now, totally outfitted Outbacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there's a differentiation there. But yeah, I agree. Like those are things that people maybe aspire to buy, but maybe they don't sell an absurd amount of them. I can't say, at least with the C6 and C7, I don't know where they sit with the C8, but I'm sure they'll get to the same thing. Chevrolet makes a lot of money on each Corvette. Porsche
I believe that.
a pretty disgusting amount of money for each Porsche they sell.
Yeah, but they still need to sell volume in order to be able to survive as a car company. And so there is some challenges with that, financial challenges.
Small SUVs and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why they exist.
Man, I would really like to see, while we're on this topic,
Yeah.
a hybrid STI that goes like stink, not like a economy, better fuel economy STI, because that I don't care. I don't enjoy making, 40 miles to the gallon. I want more fun. I would love to have a hybrid STI, but we'll see.
I'm not against that. If they were to do hybrid, kind of like the same way the Corvette does the E-Ray, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, give us a gas engine, okay?
Yep.
And then have it assisted by the electric engine. You
Right.
know, I think that would be super sick. You could do some really interesting stuff with that. Let's say the front wheels were powered by an electric engine or electric motors, and the you put the engine in the front, but it basically powered the rears. You then don't have to worry about the front axles, so you can shove that engine right against the firewall. So it would drastically help weight balance of these vehicles.
Totally agree.
Sick.
Yeah, you put the batteries in the trunk, how Subaru has done it. They put it in the wheel well, and it basically loses you no trunk space or very little.
Yeah.
And you can have 50-50 weight balance by just throwing a couple more batteries in the back, getting it dialed. Yeah. Oh my God, it would be amazing.
Oh,
You could make it all-wheel drive BRZ.
But I would, yeah, you could make an all-wheel. It'd be a bitch to make an all-wheel drive BRZ, but yeah, you could make an all-wheel drive BRZ or something esque of that nature. And yeah, it's going to weigh a little bit, but it would be cool to have some of those other hybrid features too. Like, I would love to be able to like legitimately power the car only on battery if, like, say I ran out of gas or I've only got a few miles to go. And I could just put it on Oh my God, can you imagine how many EJs would have been saved if the guy who only drives 10 miles,
Yeah.
do it on electricity, but if he's going out for the weekend, he's got that car too.
Yep. Battery power for stop and go traffic. Once you're up to highway speeds, fire the motor, and then you have everything. Like, there's ways to do it.
Keep that in mind now when we go into the next part of this.
Okay.
So I think we can both agree that the days of because of rule sets, okay, we're gonna put
the nature of the whole world, not just rule sets.
Because of rule sets, I think most production based stuff got beat up because top level of whatever discipline we're talking about has become kind of cookie cutter, okay, and tube frame is very far away from what production is. Some of that is due to the organizing bodies. That's what they push. Now, I don't foresee a situation where NASCAR is going to say, okay, we're doing it. We're stepping away from all of this, these crazy ass cars. We're using production based cars from now on. Speeds are going to go way down for a while, but we're using very production based cars now. You got to buy it off the lot, and this is what you're allowed to do. If that happened, I can tell you there would be an absolute race from manufacturers to build some interesting stuff. Or if World Rally Championship is like, they do have a production World Rally Championship still going to this day, where you have to drive very close to production level cars. Group N and PWRC and stuff like that, where that's how they were set up. If they were to say this is top level rally now, you would immediately see. I would put money on you would have an STI within a year.
Yeah.
Um, so some of this is what racing on our end, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. And the only way you would see that happening is if we all started getting excited about production level rally stuff or production
Yeah.
level, whatever. Trans Am has a lot of production based cars, watching Trans Am over NASCAR and
Yeah.
or watching IMSA like sports car stuff versus prototypes. You
Yep.
know,
Well, but hold on now. With prototypes specifically, like the Daytona prototypes, they're hybrids. It is pretty damn sick to hear the electric motors whine on the pit lane and then the Cadillac V8 fires up and it sounds
nobody
like bald eagle screaming.
would
That's
that not
cool.
would that not be cool if it happened in a more production based vehicle? A
That would be
Cadillac
super sick.
V8,
Yeah.
that thing? Exactly. And then you're like, fuck, I can go buy that. I want that in my life.
Yes. Now we're talking. So at the end of the day, it's all marketing. They just need to have better marketing going on here.
Well, I honestly, I truly believe that a lot of the sanctioning bodies all over the place have forgot how to make racing interesting. And
Exactly. They have lost the plot.
they've lost the plot. I'm going to point directly at Formula One on this. They got hell bent. Now, Formula One, to their defense, a huge amount of like bleeding edge automotive technology has came down from Formula One into our cars. Okay.
Right?
Um, and I think that's what their concept was. And a lot of these manufacturers going, well, I want to, Mercedes-Benz wanted to show off what they could do on the bleeding edge of hybrid tech. You know what I mean? At the
Right.
time that they did the V6 hybrid concept, that's what they were trying to go for. Okay. But when that happened, the cars started sounding like vacuum cleaners. And even to this day, they really don't sound anything like the the blaring V8s, V10s, and V12s.
I only partially agree with you. So Formula One is the largest budget racing in the world, I believe. And then
Mhm.
second is what? World Endurance Championship? I don't even know. So
There's quite a few different options past that, but Formula One is, yeah, as far as budget and what goes into it and the surrounding infrastructure to it and what people pay to be in it, yeah, it's
right.
as big as it gets.
It's a huge circus. It is like NASA, but for just four wheels and a
Sure.
very fast vehicle. It's a rocket ship on the ground. So I
Yes.
give a little bit of a pass to that. I don't think a lot trickles down anymore,
No,
but at least you're
but that's
training their engineers to do,
that,
world class work.
that's what they were trying to do. Okay. That was the concept. We want to look like we're being more, focused on hybrid tech and stuff that is more relatable to vehicles that are on the road.
Right.
But they're not. Okay.
No.
So in my opinion, they lost the plot. And the plot was you guys lost the excitement here. Formula One should be about 20,000 RPM screaming, V10s and V8s blaring by, and you guys want to do crazy shit with fuel and stuff like that. Do that, but you have to keep that excitement. All the development's going to go into the aero and everything else, but there is a lot of low hanging fruit within the internal combustion engine that is yet to still be developed. And it all got abandoned because we went chasing electric cars and hybrid and all of this, which I'm not trying to say does not have its place. It absolutely does. But like the low hanging fruit, I can immediately tell you, we've only seen glimpses of this, was going to be in the cylinder heads. The second they went to a pneumatic valve system and got rid of cams altogether, you would have seen absolutely insane shit in small displacement engines.
Okay. All right. So I only partially agree with you, but you're bringing up a very good point, which is they're losing the plot and there were other avenues that should have
We
had a
still
bigger impact.
could have developed more,
Yeah.
and they already were. Okay, this was already happening, and when it ballooned the budget on a lot of these things, when maybe you could have got some other companies who were going to screw around with that, but a lot of the excitement of Formula One went away during that time. And
Yeah.
you remember when the hybrid era started in Formula One, there was a whole thing of like tracks suing because people weren't going because it just didn't sound as good.
Yeah, you know that I'm not as big as you are on like that emotional aspect of it. So it sounds like a vacuum cleaner. Whatever. I don't care. What I care about though is that it was less good racing. Like the aero improvements that they had made passing less common. That's a problem.
Well, they
So
were having that problem already with the the V8s and stuff. That was stuff
yes,
we were working on. But then you also had this giant shakeup in rules, and like only one team really got it right. So for years you had Mercedes just crapping on everybody.
right,
And
right.
you knew what the outcome of the race was before it even started. And the only time you would finish the race is if God forbid they'd crash each other out, which was amazing. And then you got the best race you've ever seen because everybody else was fairly close. Um,
Yeah,
and up
yeah.
until recently, I will say recently the racing has been pretty good. Um, but
Okay.
it took them a decade to get there.
That's a long
All I'm
time.
trying to say is I think they lost the plot for a bit. And to a certain degree, I think NASCAR has lost the plot a bit. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
would
agree.
much rather see full size Camaros against full size Mustangs against full size whatever Chargers. I bet you the Charger or the Challenger or whatever would get a whole shitload smaller. Okay, I want to
Mm,
see full size with the suspension that they actually, they're not allowed to change suspension pickup points and things like that. It basically like this is kind of like a max grassroots effort is what that car would kind of look like. I want to see NASCAR levels of that, and I want to see them ripping Chicago street course. And I think more people would watch it, and I think you would get this is where we're going. You would get that trickle down effect.
Yeah, I think I agree, but I have to really think hard about whether NASCAR could do anything to keep me entertained because I just don't.
I don't know,
I think
man.
it's
I watched some
too far
decent
away.
NASCAR lately too, and this is almost making me a hypocrite for what I'm saying. But continuing on, okay.
Yep.
Different types of racing. Now let's look at back in the day. We had a little conversation about homologation.
Right.
Homologation once again is when a sanctioning body says you have to make so many of said thing. Whether it be a body shape, a particular modification to the vehicle, whatever. There's so many of this version of whatever it is, this engine, this layout, whatever, has to be made for production to be sold to the public. Okay. And the reason they do that is the idea was to try to force it was a way to keep manufacturers from making these really wacky one-off cars that weren't applicable to anything. But what ended up kind of happening is you had companies like Lancia, Audi, or even Subaru to some degree. They would make these homologation specials, which they would make just enough of whatever it was to eke it into the rules. Whether it be like a crazy wide body kit, whether it be mounting points for anti-lag systems, Evos.
Wild.
Yeah, whether it be you know crazy mid-engine setups with all-wheel drive or just all-wheel drive in production cars in general with big turbos. There's all sorts of shit. You really saw it in Group B and Group A rally. You saw a lot of that where you would get these what seemed like fairly pedestrian chill vehicles, the base model Impreza. They would shove a turbo engine into it, and then you would start getting all sorts of wacky versions of this, version 1, version 2, version 3, where they wanted different things. They wanted a beefier rear end. They wanted driver controlled center differential. They needed bigger brakes. They needed reinforcements in certain parts. They needed a closed deck engine. They needed a different design of the engine. They needed a larger turbo. They needed variable valve timing. They needed, all of this stuff. That's why we got all of that shit.
Right.
You know,
Trickle down.
us for enthusiasts, we're eating this shit up. And then you also saw that way before rally. Okay, look at the Plymouth Superbird. Okay,
Yeah. Everybody remembers that.
it's probably my favorite example of this crazy shit where they got a NASA engineer at a NASCAR team, and they went to him and went, how do we make this car go fast? Because we're getting our asses beat. And they're like, well, I mean, it's about as aerodynamic as a brick. Put a little pointy end at the front, put this wing in the back so it doesn't skate around too much. This thing's going to go a whole shitload faster. And they're like, this is butt fucking ugly. I don't care. Sell it. So they sold a bunch of them, and they sat on lots. Nobody bought those things, which is why they're so valuable today. They were not a good looking car by standards
of the time.
Of the time, even now. Like, let's be real. If you look at that car, it's not really a great looking car. We love it because it's so insane.
Yeah, but it's a weird car. No, it's not pretty.
It's a weird car. And proportionally, it's weird too. It already had a really long front end, and then you stuck a point to the front of it. But that car worked. It worked so well that all the other manufacturers were about to make their own Superbird versions, and then Bill France, the owner of NASCAR, stepped in and said, nah, we don't need this shit no more, and outlawed it. I don't remember exactly like what he did to outlaw it, but there was like there was some sort of probably homologation style, like you got to make 50,000 of them or something.
Right. No, it was the reason we're at where we're at now is 50 years of history to get to this point. That's why we've reached balance of performance level competition for essentially everything.
Like that, and then they'd win. They'd go to a NASCAR race and win by like 4 laps.
Wild.
But like, we still talk about that shit today. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what happened in NASCAR last year. Like, the last happened in NASCAR that I can like really remember that I'm just like, man, I really remember that, was the guy driving around the outside of the wall. Chastain at Martinsville or whatever, driving around, because it was so insane, it stuck in your brain. Well, people still talk about the Superbird today.
Yep. That's true.
This is so really, homologation was fun. I personally think we need to push for that again, but it doesn't exist anymore. So like, you really got to ask, why would Subaru make enthusiast vehicles?
It's important to remember that all these high-level race cars are essentially designed nowadays by vendors. So let's say Subaru's top rally cars. They're getting their transmission from a vendor. They're getting their suspension from a vendor. They are, doing the chassis prep work. It's not really special. What's that?
They don't have to be anywhere remotely production-based.
Right.
They're hacking out 99% of what makes that car what it is. It's shaped basically like a Subaru. Like, we're talking about a sports car at this point. I love you guys. It's the point I'm trying to make.
Very little of it trickles down. Yes, they do some engine design work, but it also does not trickle down to make a better production car. And that's why I
went down, because that's all bespoke.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I don't like that. It makes it, a fun looking race car, but I don't care. I want a better production car. I think the manufacturers would too, because they could sell more.
I personally think that's a huge selling point. You know what I mean? But with that stated, I bet you Subaru probably took a serious look at the EJ and went, how much would we have to modify this to be able to sell it like that? And I could see why they wouldn't do that, or the FA or whatever. I think
the EJ. The EJ in America, EJ 257, it is not a good engine. It is not worth keeping. It's not worth doing anything with.
I'm with you. I'm with you. But let's say
the only way you make it better is by better tolerances, which is what IAG does. And then you close that and put better components in it. But that doesn't make the unit itself better. You're just fixing
there's
problems.
Still, to a certain degree, that's exactly what we do. We run around and we fix symptoms. Okay. There's some core issues with the block that, no matter how much you throw at it, it's going to be lipstick on a pig. That's why we have things like Stage X block. And, I'll throw it out there because I'm not the first person to have said this, but, that's why there has been research into, an aftermarket block, of our own design, whether
or aftermarket heads
or things like that. Okay. Which unfortunately I wish turned out a lot better than they did. But the, I guess so let's look at this a little different. So did the aftermarket kind of pick up the slack for that then? Because what I will tell you, and this isn't me bragging, it's just the truth. Um, when we go win a championship in grid life, yeah, we're talking magnitudes different scales between us and NASCAR. Okay, we're not even on the same planet, but I can tell you we sell more engines when we do that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I believe that, and I'm happy to hear it.
But that's proof in a particular product, which is kind of what going back to that's why people would purchase a mid 90s WRX in other countries, because they're watching Colin McRae take a very production level car, group A based car. Don't get me wrong, they were tweaked, but the core of that was, you could see it, you know what I mean? You could park a normal Impreza next to it and see what it was.
Yeah.
And
All right.
cars, it works in the aftermarket. Okay.
Yep.
But we're a small percentage.
To answer your question, yes, I think the aftermarket did pick up that missing middle because race cars are too far away from production and not much of it trickles down. There are serious flaws that haven't been improved in a lot of these cars. Subarus are not the only ones. Yeah, the aftermarket took over, made things better, and pulled it up from the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to go on to the next topic because this is related.
Topic I needed to talk about, but if you want to talk about more, what do you got?
Travis Pastrana dropped down a level in rally. He's now going to.
This is perfect. This plays right into what the fuck I'm talking about, and this is how I know. This is how I know Subaru sees there's a problem, because one of two things are happening here. Okay, and I don't know which one it is. Okay, so I'm gonna preface this real fast, and then I want you to explain the whole thing. Okay. Subaru either A is going, what we do in rally, we want to keep winning open class, but we need something that's more relatable. Okay, because what we're building at this point is not relatable. They're hearing people like this conversation you and I just had. Okay, or Vermont Sports Car, who has been building Subaru's race cars in the United States for quite a while now, is going, we see the writing on the wall. We need to make something more relatable, because normal people cannot afford these open class cars. We need to show that we can build something that like a normal person with some means, could put together. Okay. So explain what's going on, because I'm excited about this. I'm very excited about this.
Okay. So Travis Pastrana, as you know, was in open class rally along with Brandon Semenuk, and Travis is dropping down a class to limited 4-wheel drive. Now, I don't have all of the details in front of me, but I can speculate that it's only one step down. Meanwhile, Brandon is staying up at the top. The quotes that he has in Subaru's media press release are really interesting, but it essentially comes down to one thing, quote, build great competition. I think they realize that there's not enough competition out there and it's kind of boring. So I'm a big fan of anything that gets closer to production based, even if it's a smaller box, because then you're winning on innovation.
The best part. Look, man, like, this is great. Okay, so long story short, the bigger the box gets, the more your budget is the constraint. Now, in any class, time attack, street mod, whatever, this production limited, whatever, you name it, budget is going to help immensely. Okay.
Yep.
I'll talk about Scott Speed's project here in a second. I know a lot about that I can't talk, but we'll.
Hold on now. I have a Dirtfish article from a few years ago talking about their limited four-wheel drive class STI. And here's all the things that they changed. So the EJ25 is taken out. They put in an EJ20. That's probably has to happen. But again, I'm disappointed that that's not an American motor. You cannot buy that in America, which is a shame.
I think turbo, they did that because at the time they had to run a 2-liter. I think that has been up to 2.5 at this point.
Oh, okay. This Dirtfish car used the VF36 twin scroll turbo, which is also JDM. and shorter intake for improved throttle response. They moved the intercooler to the front, so it's a front mount intercooler. Batteries in the trunk, Motec M150 ECU, PPG sequential transmission. Interior has been stripped out. Roll cage, of course. It's extended steering column. Nothing too crazy. Let me see here.
Nothing
Nothing too
super
crazy. And
they're allowing sequentials. I'm assuming they're allowing sequentials if they're inside of like OEM casings or something like that, kind of like what Street Mod is doing now.
right.
Long story short, as crazy as that sounds for running like proper stage rally, that's not that bad. I'm a
No.
huge fan of make stage rally great again,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
I think this is the way to do it. Um,
Yep.
so like I said, the bigger the sandbox gets, the more budget is your constraint. Okay, the smaller the sandbox gets, budget helps, but really what it is innovation. Innovation is what's
Agree.
going to put you over the top. And then this is where you're going to start seeing interesting stuff that honestly might even trickle down.
I hope so. No guarantees. I'll believe it when I see it, but certainly
I,
better than open class.
I have a very hard time believing they're going to be allowed to run anything but a production level engine. Like it's going to have to be like really EJ based. It's not going to be like the Rallycross engine that they're sticking in all of their shit.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. That would be shocking. Yeah, let me see if I got other notes on here. So, nope, not that one. Yeah, this is a step in the right direction. Now, it remains to be seen whether or not people on social media are going to care about this. I hope they do, but what do we know? We're just nerds, man.
Actually, I bet you're going to be surprised, and here's why. People are going to be able to look at this car and they're going to go, hey, it's Travis Pastrana. He's winning something in a car I could purchase.
Yes.
I can see that car. If you look at the current rally car, you do not see a VB. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't look at that and go, shit, I want to go buy a WRX. That is so cool. You don't.
Yeah.
It's gone. You know what I mean? And that is the thing that has been missing. I think Vermont Sports Car is making a huge move. Whether it's Subaru or Vermont Sports Car, I think this is great. I would love if somebody from Vermont Sports Car would comment on this. I know they can't say much. I've been trying to get one of those fuckers on this thing forever, but just I want to hear it. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Like, what's pushing them in this direction? Is it them? Is it Subaru? What's going on and why? I desperately want to see it. Okay.
Okay. So while we're on this vein, GR86 Cup. Those are lightly modified GR86s. It is a stock motor inside and out. It's got a sequential, a roll cage, and that's essentially it.
Yeah.
So, do you think that really benefits Toyota, Subaru, selling more GRs?
That's a good question because that's spec. Okay.
Right.
And the problem with that is everybody's in identical cars. Now, does it make it look like a GR could go out there and race? Yes. And I think
Yes.
people say that and they're like, okay, that's a competent platform to go racing in.
Yes.
But if it's not competing against anything else, is it the best platform to go racing in? It doesn't answer that question. For it to work, it's got to be direct competition against something else.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay.
I think it's good
Not
marketing.
exactly my cup of tea.
I think it's good marketing, but I think it's good marketing in the way of, hey, racing is fun. You can do racing with this. This is fun. I think it's less serious than what I want to see is straight up cutthroat. We're here to win no matter what it takes kind of shit. The stuff Audi did today, the stuff Lance did today.
Small boxes though.
Yeah, small. I want to see Ford the second. I want to see the Deuce get pissed because he couldn't buy Ferrari and go, okay, the checkbook's open. Go build the craziest car on the planet, Carroll Shelby, and go mop their ass. I don't care what it costs. I want to see that again.
I want to see that again, but with a $1 million budget limit or a $10 million budget limit.
you can't. It doesn't matter the budget limit if you make the sandbox small enough. And this is so.
Hmm.
Here's I'm gonna bring the. I'm sticking myself on a pedestal here a little bit when I say this. This is why Street Mod's good. Because you can look at Boogie and go, that's an Impreza. I can see that car in it. And this is why Unlimited is hard to get behind. Because those cars look like spaceships now.
Well,
I'm-
okay, I agree.
But there's more competition in Street Mod now due to that too.
The reason Street Mod succeeds is because there's multiple cars that are being built. There's Supras, there's your car, and they are not the same. They do not make the same formula.
Unlimited could do the same thing with just about any damn car. If you threw enough money at it, it will be fast. And money or development or innovation or whatever. Proof in the pudding is look at Will All Young and how many of his records still stand, and he was driving a front-wheel drive Civic on struts.
Yep. That's such a cool car.
Exactly. It's so cool because of what I just said, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's GTRs. There's, all sorts of crazy shit have tried to beat some of his records and failed miserably with much more money behind it. So again,
yep. And his main competitor is a built Corvette, a twin turbo Corvette, which looks sick because it's carbon fiber now. Like, it's a completely different formula.
So what I'm trying to get at is, but that car did not even look like a Civic when it was at its fastest. You know what I mean? You could barely identify that thing as a Civic.
Yeah.
But
fair.
Again, it
was a door slammer though.
It was. I mean, he followed the rules of what it was, even more so than he probably even had to. But I mean, even he kind of got ran out due to budget. You know what I mean? And he was as innovative as it was going to get. Street Mod, you're not really going to have that. There's only so far you can go because you're limited. Now, I will say you are limited kind of to. You need to pick a particular platform that has a prayer. You know what I mean? It's going to be development hell no matter what. Not anything can be built into a good Street Mod car. But that's how, even in the 90s, not anything could be built into a good World Rally Championship car. You aren't going out there with a Dodge minivan with enough money. It still isn't going to compete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so you've got you're going to have to pick a particular platform. Unlimited, you could damn near make anything work.
With enough money. Yeah, you can solve it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's two important elements here: small boxes, and what's the other one? Just relatability.
I would like to see top level racing sanctioning bodies push their small box racing harder, okay, and celebrate it more.
Small boxes, relatability, and not a balance of performance racing category.
Yeah, you've got to hope that your rule set balances the performance. You can't actively get in the way of it. You have to write the rules in a way that balances it.
Man, talking about it this way makes me realize how good Grid Life had it or has it for so many years.
Yeah. Going back to WRC, they were really smart to implement turbo restrictors at a very early time,
Sure, agree.
And I think that kept a lot of cars fairly similar. They developed the rest of the car, but they kept the cars fairly similar. I would like to see more of that. I would like to see, I would really like to see more of production-based stuff. Come up with rules along those lines that, force these manufacturers to try harder.
Yep, I agree. So, anything else we can say about this topic? Oh, can we talk a little bit, just a couple comments about Scott Speed's project? What do you think that's going to be?
Scott Speed, I actually know what it's going to be, but I can't talk about it.
Tell me what you can talk about.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Scott Speed has acquired a very, very clean 05 STI. Okay?
Excellent.
I can tell you it's not a rally car.
Okay.
Okay? And I can tell you this is going to be a very relatable vehicle.
I like that.
This is a perfect example of bigger names or people who are outside of the tippy top understanding that relatability matters. This is another example also of people who have some influence, which Scott Speed has, understanding that the grassroots side of stuff is significantly more powerful today than it has ever been. And that is something that I don't think in all of our conversation today, we have not taken into context here. So this is, should Subaru try to keep pumping money into top level, whatever they're doing? I think them stepping down to, if they are backing that in some way, that that limited vehicle that Pastrana is going to be driving, I think that's fantastic, and they're understanding that and probably have a concept of why that would help the brand. Okay.
Yep.
I am still of the belief Subaru turning around and sponsoring or helping making some program contingencies, whatever, for more grassroots level stuff, and taking that out of Facebook ad budget or something would go significantly further. And all manufacturers doing something like that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's, let's be real, if they wanted to push the VB, by all means, push the VB, the GR86, the BRZ, whatever. I maybe make extra contingency for that, by all means. But even their more legacy vehicles, like the the older STIs and stuff like that, help them in some way, because that is your brand.
Yep, I agree.
If when a Subaru wins at Grid Life event, every single time now, you'll hear Adam Jabay go, "Dewey wants to let you know that was a Subaru." Like, every single time. And I'm not asking for Subaru to help me. That's not what I'm at here. But I think they should be helping the community overall. Whether it's they want to, pay Scott Speed to go to some of these things and show off what the capabilities of these vehicles are, or whether they maybe they get involved with Nick at Subi Mods and whatever this thing is we're trying to grow here. You know what I mean? Or hell, run some Subaru track days. I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. Okay. I don't know what the budget is, but honestly, what they should do is start hiring out of the community, and they really should be trying to pull in some enthusiasts, especially some very big grassroots enthusiasts, and start having a conversation about what that should look like brainstorming with them of what could really get people's hearts moving. And it's not just Subaru. It's any brand. You know what I mean? Like, I think Hyundai did a fairly good job of what they were trying to do with their N line, getting in with social media people, racing the cars as much as they could, doing stuff with Grid Life, whatever. I think they were there. I think they actually moved the needle with some of the stuff they did, even with a butt ugly fucking car. I'm sorry, man. That car is ass ugly. And it looks like a Camry with a bad paint job, and it is not exciting. It's just not an exciting car. It's got an exciting paint job, but it is not an exciting car. Yet they managed to move the needle with what they did. Now imagine if they made something actually exciting.
Hold on now. Which one are you talking about? The Veloster N?
No, the Elantra N is what they pushed.
Okay, all right. I don't quite agree. So, first of all, they had their signature color. It's a baby blue. I like baby blue. They want to make it angular. Fine. You got to understand, the Elantra is about as economy as it gets.
It's fucking boring. That is a Camry.
It is. But it goes like stink with a DSG and 300 horsepower. Like, that's cool, man. And a hot color.
Dude, give me a BRZ competitor. You obviously can make a good engine. Stick that engine in there sideways, make it rear-wheel drive, okay? Make a BRZ competitor. and go
Make
race
a
it.
front wheel drive BRZ competitor. Now we're talking. Make an RSX.
Make a CRX.
There we go.
Yes, all for it, dude. Make it a Godzilla destroying monster. Look at that fucking car. It's in the
I
chat.
don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's weird. It's angular. It's not going to stand the test of time, but I do not hate it.
I don't care about the basic styling cues. That's a family car with a bad paint job. I'm sorry.
It is a family car. Yes, it's not a sports car. You're right, and it's punching way above its weight class.
Sure. It's still fat and front wheel drive. Make something interesting.
I get where you're going with this. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Throw some freaking giant fender flares on it, some 285s, and give it all wheel drive and another 100 horsepower. And
285s? 285s. No way.
Lose your mind. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, lose your mind. Go shoot for the GTR. Like, moonshot.
That's a different car. This is a Camry washing machine with a limited slip front differential, probably, and a turbocharger.
Moonshot. That, or I think you're right. When we both said CRX, I think it's a great idea. I think that's what they should do. I think that's what they were trying to do with the Veloster. And
Veloster's ugly.
God, the Veloster's ugly. I think they missed the mark with the Veloster. I think they could have done some shit to the Veloster to make it slightly less ugly. Give it like a WRC style wing, and it doesn't look that bad. Where they fucked up with the Veloster is that car was getting compared to GTIs and stuff like that. What they needed to do is get all-wheel drive, because it would have been very easy, since that was that drivetrain was based off of the Evo Rally Art, or the Mitsubishi Lancer Rally Art. Give it all-wheel drive and kind of slightly lean into the go after the WRX, go after the STI with an interesting looking vehicle. It's different looking, don't get me wrong, but go after that.
All right, Hyundai's tech demos, and actually their production cars too, that are pure battery electric, are pretty cool. They go fast, and they have all the bells and whistles to drift.
And
hold on,
we're talking about the wrong things here. What I'm trying.
Hear me out. You said all-wheel drive. Imagine this: Veloster that's not ugly, front-wheel drive, hybrid system in the transmission in the front, no drivetrain between the front and the rear. Then put the batteries and the electric motors in the rear. Give it a decent amount of horsepower to make it 60% rear-wheel drive or whatever. That would sell.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm mildly excited now.
That would be so sick.
Fucking Camry. Okay, the one thing that the STIs always had is you're not going to mistake it for something else. You know what I mean? You're not going to mistake that for a boring car. It's always got a giant wing. It's always got a big scoop. It's always got crazy bright wheels. Now, they tried to do that with this, with a crazy bright paint job, but like, that ain't enough. That car is
boxy. The boxy car that looks like a DeLorean, like, that's sharp.
Yeah, but that's never going to get produced like that. It's not going to be dude, they need to make something exciting.
Hyundai has tried the hardest out of all the people that we've been talking about, because of the entire N line and their battery cars. Like, the fact that they had a bunch of warranty issues, whatever, man. Like, they tried.
Other companies should take a page out of Hyundai, but do it with their more exciting cars. Stop trying to make something that looks like a fucking Camry exciting. Take something that is exciting and try to make people excited about it. Like, Chevy should be doing this with a fucking Camaro. Like, that's what they should be doing.
Yeah, I agree. So, any last words on this?
Not really.
Okay. All right. So,
the near future?
Not anywhere near, but hopefully Ian is going to come visit soon. I got to hit him up. I
got new and interesting stuff.
Okay, what's your new and interesting stuff? Tell me about it.
New and interesting stuff. I got new brakes for my sim rig.
Okay. Are they load cell based?
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything but load cell. But the brake pedal, I got a haptic engine or motor for it, so when I hit the brakes, I can feel it now.
Neat. I like the sound of that.
They're pretty sweet. And then I also, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been streaming racing a little bit lately. and I have neat stuff, telemetry and everything, so you can see how I'm releasing the brakes and hitting the gas, and it's
Wow.
it's been really enlightening and a lot of fun. But I noticed one of the things I can add is a heart rate monitor.
Yes, that's
I,
cool.
my heart rate monitor showed up today.
Excellent. Chest strap, yeah?
Yep, chest strap, heart rate monitor. So it's I'm interested to see, like, because I know my heart rate goes through the roof when I'm driving. I
Mhm.
wanna see what comes of that.
Both Travis and Scott Speed are serious cardio guys. They have to be. It's their job.
Yeah, I wish racing was my job, and I honestly I should probably I've thought about this about maybe getting a bike in here when it slows down, and
You take the
just
bike you have, get a better seat on it, buy
yeah,
a $500 direct drive trainer. They are so much cheaper than when I bought them back in the day.
just beat
And
it out of myself sitting in here.
yeah, you're gonna sweat your ass off and then probably gonna eat all the oxygen in the room and just be living in a CO2 soup, just starving yourself of oxygen. But
For me.
you'll make progress.
Ooh, we got Kanakri out in the we got Jason effing Kanakri out in the chat. What up, Jason? How you doing, bud? I
Yeah.
haven't seen him in a minute.
All right, we got one more. While we're talking to the folks in the chat, I got one more item on my list for today, which
Okay,
is
cool. What do you got?
there was a shooting at a New Mexico car meet.
Oh man, this is awful.
This is so bad.
This is
So
I don't think people understand how bad this is for the community in general, of
totally
all
agree.
car enthusiasts in general. So the videos I have seen of this, it didn't look like a takeover. They were in a parking lot. Okay, now
Okay.
I'm sure there was some takeover-esque shit going on. I did see some burnouts and dumb crap. Okay,
Yeah.
which is the reason that it's impossible to find a good place to have a car meet. And one of the topics we're going to have in the not too distant future is how to build a community in your area. Okay, and we are
Yeah.
planning on doing this. This is the polar opposite of what you should be doing. But what ended up happening? Like, let's give me the whole skinny on this, because it went real
So
side.
it was considered unsanctioned, and there was a quote from a person who was a witness that quote there was already craziness going on before the shooting with people sticking guns out the window and doing donuts. So ultimately, 15 people were injured, 3 people were killed. Andrew Madrid, age 16, Jason Gomez, age 18, Dominic Estrada, age 19. The people that were arrested, 20-year-old, a pair of 17-year-olds, and a 15-year-old. Are you kidding me? What are you doing out there?
I mean, bringing a 15, 16-year-old, as a dad to a car meet. I used to bring my when he was not 15, 16, when he was like
Yeah,
5. I used to bring him
right.
to all the time. Okay, and I didn't have to worry about it because we ran a very tight ship at these car meets. And
Yes, culture matters a lot. What the heck?
dude, that is so bad. Again, we're going to talk about how to build a community. It's something I really, really want to have a conversation about. But um, I you the second anybody in the group allows that sort of behavior of just hooliganism, you know guns and crazy shit being waved around, I have no problems with Second Amendment stuff, but there's no reason to be showing shit off like that.
No, yeah,
Everybody can agree there's no reason to be waving crap around, or everybody there packing heat and showing it off. And
no,
then there's
that's stupid behavior. Yeah,
that's being ignorant, you know what I mean? And burnouts just in general, or leaving the area quick. You want to be looked at as the most chill group ever, that nobody would ever talk to you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you want to be so much on your best behavior. This is the sort
Yeah.
of happens the second you let the leash off.
So I went to the URW open house this past weekend, and first of all, it was huge. Second of all, it was all nice cars. There were no borderline cars there. Everybody brought their best. And third
Yeah.
of all, I was standing in line for the food truck. There was a food truck backing up one step, and some lady came up and said, "Hey, sorry to bother you. What is all of this?" It was just some lady that came in off the street and just saw the cool cars. And I said, "Oh, it's this guy. He owns a business, modifying cars, and he took over the whole strip mall now because he's been very successful." But it was just so different. This world was so different from this article that we read this past week on, oh, it's a bunch of dudes in a parking lot, flashing guns and shooting each other. Like, I don't know how you change it other than just enforcing a culture where people expect a certain thing when they show up.
If you are in this community and you care about it in any way, and you in any way condone takeover culture, you are a part of the problem. You are
100% agree.
you are cancerous. You are as bad as the people doing it. You are cancer. It is awful. This
Yep.
current culture of acting just complete hooliganism. We have all done stupid shit in cars. Okay, I've done some dumb speeds on public roads. I've slid
Mhm.
around stuff. I go to Tail the Dragon, have a great time. Now I've done some shit, okay? But I'm what they're doing is different. They're literally in the middle of intersections or whatever, and they're trying to act out as hard as they can. It's a dick measuring contest to who can act out harder.
Yeah, it is antisocial behavior.
It's it,
So,
it has no place in society in general, and it is cancerous to the car community.
yeah, and it's really hard to run a community even when people are not screwing around because
But
people, attitudes change or you got personality
it is
conflicts
rough.
or
When you're trying to, and we'll get into that, but it is rough trying. You got a lot of different walks of life that get into cars, and there's going to be clashes of personality, and shit's going to be what it is. It's already hard enough, like you're saying with that. It's already hard enough with that, but then you have this sort of stuff. And
yeah.
like I said, the second you let it happen, it goes right in the toilet.
Yeah, it ruins it for everybody. So the cops crack down harder and they start harassing random people, who aren't doing anything wrong later
That,
on. And
let's look
that's
at our Algonquin meets. Okay, so we've been running Algonquin Subaru meets for a decade.
yeah.
And then Sonic and all that happened. We were some of the first people to go to Sonic, and it'd be like 20 of us, and all Subarus, whatever. And then
Yep.
it was like every Wednesday or Thursday, I don't remember when it was, but we would go to Sonic. We'd hang out outside of Sonic, and park our cars in the parking lot next to it, and we would all the owner there was totally happy with us being there. Like we had permission and everything. We talked to them before, and they were excited about us being there. We always made sure we purchased at least something. Everybody purchased at least something from there, so it
Yep.
wasn't like loitering. And we were really, really cognizant about keeping the spot good. And then another night, and I think it was like Tuesday, it was another night that we weren't normally there. A different group started to show up, and they started associating that other group with us, unfortunately. And that other group was crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of racing and stuff going on, burnouts, crazy shit. And that group got real big real fast. And then so they kicked us all out at one point. It took us a very long time to go, that ain't us. And we've been coming here for a very long time. But when management changed, we were screwed.
Yeah. I remember that. It was before my time, but I do remember you telling me those stories.
Yeah. And
Going back to URW,
yeah,
two things stood out to me. One, they contacted the mayor's office ahead of time, and turns out the mayor has a Porsche collection. That's cool. Second of all, they contacted the police and gave them a heads up, and they said, "Have fun." So, like, when you do it right, everybody's on board.
if you and that's the best way to start. Like, hey, we want to start that was the right way to do it. Like, and I bet you they'd allow him to do that once a week if he wanted to. You know what I mean? Um,
Gosh.
this is going to be a big thing about this conversation we're going to have about starting a car community.
Yeah.
Okay. And the right way to do it. And that is the very right way to do it. He knew he was going to pull serious numbers on this first one. He obviously, I even saw advertisements for it. Well, not
Mhm.
advertisements, but I saw it in my social media feed. So I knew it was going to be fairly large. And he was smart enough to go, we're probably going to get a decent amount of people here. we need to get a hold of whoever it is. I'm not gonna lie, the first time we did something like that at Six Star, we
Yeah.
we didn't get the correct permits, and we ended up what we thought was going to be just a small block party, and we ended up being bigger than another very well organized car show. We emptied their car show and they all came to our meet.
Oh my gosh, wild.
It was when Six Star Motorsports and across the street was Strictly Modified. They did Evos, and just down the road was Pro Function. They did Hondas. Okay, and we all decided we're going to throw meat all at the same time, and we're all going to throw in on food. And, you know, it should be really chill, and we'd get a decent amount of cars, and our parking lots in the back and on the side should be enough to hold. People should be able to park and it not be too bad, right? We were wrong. We ended up closing the fucking road down. We at the like its peak point, we had like 2,000 cars there. So the cops came and shut the thing down. It was ridiculous.
That's wild.
It was insane. It was cool, but then people started acting way out. We managed to get permits to do it again, but you got to watch out. You could be a victim of your own success real fast. But again, we will go over that in another time.
Yeah, I'm out of topics. So any last words, Dewey?
I don't think so. I think this was a good one. We had a good time.
Oh, man. Sure did.
Yeah. Yeah. We do got to figure out when you want to come down and do some Tail of the Dragon stuff, though. I agree.
Absolutely.
I think we should have a IAG Thursday thing, Tail of the Dragon, like specific meet. Like we'll tell everybody we're gonna be here on this date, like, you know, and try to organize something kind of cool there. Maybe even do a it'd be fun to do a podcast at Tail of the Dragon. Probably wouldn't
do an Ask Me Anything. Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't be live, but God, it'd be fun to, you know, record cars going. It'd be super cool to sit over by like where Killboy's at. So you're catching cars going by. Yep. That would be fun. You're just sitting there chatting, watching cars go by, and you know, doing the whole tail. Oh God, that'd be
That's a great idea. Now, here, quick question before we wrap. Would you be mad if I put 200 treadwear tires on a 17-inch wheel?
Why would I be mad about that?
I'm asking you because sidewall deflection is a real thing.
It is, but you're not looking for every bleeding. I would like you to put it on a 17 by 10.
Oh, I'm not doing that. It's going to be 215s. I love me some.
If it's going to be a 215, why would you put a 215 on that car?
Because it's a BRZ. You simplify and add lightness.
Okay. I think you should at least put a 225 on it, and I think it should be an 8.5.
I don't have 8.5 wheels. That's the problem.
I can get 8.5s. What do you have?
I've got the RPF ones.
Oh, you could probably do that. What are those, 8s?
I think so, yeah. I need to strip off those Prius tires. They're awful. I'm just going to give them away.
Yeah, do 225s.
Okay. I could do 225s.
It'll have a look to it. It'll look nice, you know. I'm not mad about that. We could do that.
Okay.
You know, at least for now.
Okay.
You know, you're going to do a 225, 45, 17 is what's going to go on that.
That sounds about right.
Okay.
All
right. Well, if it stinks, don't eat it. And you need to call me and get your coilovers. Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
I said the whole catalog. The whole catalog.
Well, I wish I had a bigger catalog but you need a set of coilovers. I think we need to at least do that. So let's have that conversation. Okay. I even got them on the shelf right now.
Okay.
It'd be in a couple days. So, all right. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. We'll see you guys next time.